What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring incredible guests from all over the world, so sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is a 70-year-old podcaster, a men's life coach at the Standard Academy. He is a former periodontal regenerative surgeon. He does have a free gift for you guys. He spends a lot of time in the anti-aging space, interviewing doctors on cutting-edge therapies, sharing that with his tribe, helping guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those they love. Please welcome Dr. Orest. Dr. Orest, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the program. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. Well, we connected because you had me on your show, and I was able to enjoy your program and what you're all about. I love what you're doing. I think you're breaking the mold for a lot of people, because I don't think there's a lot of 70-year-old podcasters out there. How do you feel about that?
I don't feel 70. I know I am. I'm closer to 71 than I am actually. I'm 70. And for those of you that my birthday's on October 8th, and I'm an extra large and
Right.
And my favorite is cigars, usually Gurkhas. So other than that plug, I don't feel 70, and I've been fortunate to get into the anti-aging space, which really has affected my attitude as much as anything else. It's affected my attitude and some of the things that I do in order to do that. And it's interesting that a lot of people don't avail themselves of all the things that are available to them out there to do that.
Yeah.
And they'll still say like, "Oh, it's not for me," or whatever. Like, okay, so you want to live your crappy life? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm big into anti-aging, and I take a lot of supplements. I'm actually now currently looking in, because I'm in my 40s, I'm looking into HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy, which is great for women too. And it's not just testosterone and steroids and things like that. But I'm actually setting up an appointment to get that checked, because I know something's off and I want to fix it.
Yeah. I actually have a number of, I've interviewed a number of physicians on that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. On menopause. Probably one of the best ones was Elizabeth Yurth. She's a regenerative medicine specialist, and she's incredibly smart. Actually, after the letters MD, she's got 22 other initials after it.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
She's busy.
Yeah. So and she just breaks it down into where it's intelligible. But I've actually talked a lot about this, because guys run into this more frequently.
Right.
So it's not just, and also women in this area, they know what's happening, but they don't necessarily know the ramifications.
Right.
They don't know what, okay, so this is happening in my body, but what does that mean on a long-term basis to my health? And that's where we get into a lot of stuff, and a lot of the myths, because there's lots of myths out there about hormone replacement for therapy for women, and also for testosterone for men. And I have been on testosterone for over 25 years.
Yeah, but it's doctor prescribed, and you're being monitored by a doctor. So it's like
absolutely.
It's healthy dosages to keep you healthy and maintain those different levels to kind of keep you in a youthful state, right?
Yeah. Well, the other one of the things, though, I'll tell you that most of the time your primary care physician, especially for men, is not going to give you enough to make a difference, because there's lots of myths out there: prostate cancer, heart disease, all that stuff. And there's I think I'll go with the Mayo Clinic consensus paper on the safety of it. Okay. There's actually 2 of them out there, and outside of a whole bunch of other research. But most of the time, your physicians will not give you enough, and the ranges for men are dropping now. The lab ranges, because it's the average of unhealthy men, and testosterone levels are coming down generationally in men.
Oh wow!
And what used to be high normal is now above range. This just happened just in the last few months, where the high normal was 1,100 for men, and now it's dropped down to 960. Well, that's a huge difference, and that's not the first time that has happened. I was talking to a friend of mine who's actually a physician who does a lot of testosterone replacement therapy. He says, "This Orest, 25 30 years ago, the high normal was 1,500.
Holy cow. So what's
Yeah.
is that just environmental, or what is the cause of that?
A lot of it is environmental, GMOs, plastics, all sorts of stuff that are out there that are toxins. And this is actually the worst part about this is that men, and this is again the same physician was telling me this, that men in their 20s and 30s are showing up with lower testosterone levels than at their baseline values of men in their 50s and 60s in his offices.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it really is affecting in terms of the development of men.
Yeah.
You know, your testosterone is what makes you a man.
Yeah. I mean, I have a thought on that. Maybe that's what's creating all these crazy different non-gender, non-binary type people out there. I mean, listen, no judgment. You want to do whatever you want to do, but that would explain why things are going the way they're going in our society, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Like,
well, some of it is I do believe that there's a factor. Some of that is also a fad to be in. I mean, Bill Mayer, who every time I agree with him, I have to double check my thinking. I mean, he goes like, how come there's like every other person you run into in Los Angeles, has a child that wants to be transgender, but that doesn't occur in Youngstown, Ohio.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, there's a lot of, I don't know. I've interviewed people about transgenders and transgender athletes. There's a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
It's the money for the surgery is huge.
Yeah.
The money for the hormone therapy afterwards, you are hooked for life on this.
Mm-hmm.
Your physician has in this case has become a drug dealer.
Right. Yeah.
And there's not you can't, if you get off of it, you lose all the effects that you quote unquote wanted, which a lot of people actually once they do it they don't want. I just really didn't even understand about this whole thing about dilation, which sometimes never ends.
What's that? What does that mean, dilation?
Well, that's when they surgically create a vagina.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That wants that keeps on closing up, and and these trans have to dilate it almost daily.
What?
Yeah, I was listening to something. I was listening to this on
I didn't know that.
I did not know that until recently. I would it just seems like so weird that no one talks about. But here they were. These were all actually trans, and they're going like, I don't know what I did to myself.
Yeah,
they had a total like this is not. I'm not any happier now than I was before I started. Actually, I'm more unhappy.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a there's all sorts of stuff there, but getting back to the testosterone, let's talk about healthy stuff.
Yeah, I like it. Positive health.
Yeah. For me, that's like been a game changer for my whole life, and I have a number of people that I've counseled in this area, and they talk about how they feel, how great they feel, and how if they have to get off for a short while, they feel miserable.
Yeah.
Because people think it's about making you horny. Well, not really. But what it is about attitude. It's a potent, in my opinion, and I'm not a physician. It's a potent antidepressant.
Yeah.
It helps you keep muscle mass on. It helps you keep fat off, which is a big problem in my family. I mean, we have fat genes. It's just a huge issue in my family.
Okay.
And so mental acuity. It helps you with your heart. It does not give you cancer. You don't get prostate cancer.
Right.
Actually, there's some people there's some physicians that actually treat prostate cancer with high doses of testosterone. So that is really what it is. And I'm at age 70. I'm going into the gym doing the same stuff I was doing in my 50s.
Wow. See, I think I'm a believer in it. So my significant other, he's taking HRT. I mean, but it's doctor prescribed. Doctor, is
exactly
right. So all that is he's being monitored by a doctor for him to stay in healthy levels. So I'm noticing, like, I've always been very healthy. I've always been in the gym, always taken my supplements. I'm noticing a little shift in some of my energy and some of my mood, and I'm like, okay, I want to get ahead of this while I can. I don't think I'm close to menopause because my family, all the women in my family don't hit it until like 60. So I'm sure I have many years left of normal cycles, whatever. But if there's something off that is beginning the perimenopause stage, then I want to address it and try to keep myself as healthy as possible. And so whether it's estrogen, testosterone, or anything else that they can take a look at and help me with, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't know what the lady doctor that you had on your show, what is her thoughts on it?
Well, she's a great believer in this, and we talk about it. A guy is really easy to dial in. I mean, okay, give him testosterone. Okay, that's it. You're done. Essentially, a woman, it's a little bit more of, you got to kind of figure out what the right cocktail is, in terms of also the dosages. Right. So it's kind of like they say it takes anywhere for a woman to kind of dial it in about 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, that's what I read too. Yeah, I read that too. But awesome. Well, I'm loving this conversation so far. And so you are a men's life coach at the Standard Academy. And so what is well, obviously men, but is there a specific age range of your target client?
Yeah, 35 and up. Okay. Most of them are going to be successful business people. Okay. Either C-suite or own their own companies. And a lot of times they're going to have paid a price for their business success in their relationships with their significant other, their wife and their kids. They may have lost some vibrancy in terms of their energy and how they feel about the world. They also may be kind of lost. Because even when once people have achieved, quote unquote, their success that they want to do, they kind of go, okay, now what? Now what do I do? What's the next hill do I charge up? So we spend a lot of time. One of the things that I'm a great believer in is that most people cannot identify with specificity what they want.
Yeah.
Okay, they'll kind of wander around generalities and things like that. And the easiest one to talk about is like, people go like, well, I want more sex. Okay. Well, dude, first of all, if you want more sex, the first thing you got to do is don't say I want more sex.
Yeah,
the second thing is don't say I want more sex, and the third thing is don't say I want more sex, because that's not going to do it. That's not going to cut it.
No.
And what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Does that mean like you want to have the sex every day, the sex once a month, or every 6 months? So most people can't identify with specificity, but the lack of sex in a relationship, is usually a symptom of something else going on.
Yes, agreed.
So it's not. It's and it kind of happens. I talk about this in one of my webinars, is that, all of a sudden, when you're first in a relationship and everything else, everything's just like, everyone's just like all horny and everything else, blah, 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 and everything going on. And then you get married, then you get a job, and then kind of stress comes in. And then when you get a promotion, well, you have more stress. Right. Because you got to spend more time at the office, you got more responsibilities, and it depends on, are both of you working or just one of you working? And, and then the kids show up.
Yeah.
And that's just a total game changer for most couples, because all of a sudden they have these things in the house that you can't put them in a crate. And
right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's laws against that. Yeah. There's laws against that. And you'll get put in a crate if you try to do that. And I'm just being facetious here, because it's great. We have a couple of kids, and they're great, but they kind of like change the whole dynamics. Sure. Especially when they start coming to your bed when they're like 2 and 3. And it's kind of like, oh shit, I had something else planned this morning. So and then what happens is that people get into their patterns, and they're bored. The man drifts away in terms of communication and emotionally and everything else. And so what happens is that they become less flirtatious and less fun. Right. And this is true, both people do. I'm not just saying it's not just a guy, it's not just a woman. And then then they hear the things like, I'm not in the mood, I'm too tired. Right. Why do you always
You have
want
to be
that?
mindful of that when you decide to have children, that you have to make a conscious effort to connect with one another without the children. I mean, and I think that's where some people
Absolutely.
are successful, is that because they go into that knowing that it's going to be a challenging, and we're going to have to make the effort to make that happen.
Yeah. And the other time that people don't do that is when they become empty nesters.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And
Yeah.
that happens pretty often when people become empty nesters. I was just reading something interesting the other day. It was actually a book about marketing to the affluent. I don't know if you know who Dan Kennedy is. Really, really smart guy. And he said that most divorces of couples that have been married for 25 plus years are initiated by the women.
Hmm. Yeah.
And part of that, some of that has to do is with the loss of spiritual, emotional, and physical intimacy that's gone.
Yeah.
And so that is really what people are looking for. And if you're having a conversation, instead of saying I want more sex, you start saying like I need more spiritual, emotional, physical intimacy. That's a different conversation.
Right. Yeah.
That's a very different conversation. It doesn't. I I'll use the example. So if you say like you must say, well, I want more sex. All you're saying to your significant other is I want to borrow your vagina
Right.
for a few minutes, and when I'm done, I'll give it back to you. It'll be a little used, but you'll still get to keep it.
Right. There's no like emotional connection there where
yeah,
a woman operates off of her emotions.
right. And the other thing is like, what have you done to make that a pleasant experience for your significant other?
Right. Hmm. So do you work with your clients? Do you work with them through these issues then and talk to them like that?
Oh yeah. I talk to them even more bluntly. I'm holding myself back.
Don't hold back. Don't hold back.
No. I'm not. Well, one of my modules is how to get laid more frequently without begging.
Hmm.
And there's certain things that you can do real easy, certain things that are hard, and it really depends on where you're starting from.
Yeah.
If you're kind of like things are just not quite dialed in, but still pretty good, you're gonna get a better result quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are like just a hair's breadth away from filing divorce papers, well, you may not recover at all. You may recover, but you may not recover at all because things have just gotten to the point where nobody really wants to put in the effort.
Right.
And I'm not, and this is not to just pick on guys because there's a whole other person involved in the relationship.
Yeah.
But you can't control what that other person does. You can only control what you do. Now you can try to influence them to a certain extent.
Yeah.
By doing certain things, but it's just a matter of being, being nice, being fun. I think you should never stop flirting.
Yeah.
Absolutely, ever. And being suggestive.
Yeah.
I mean, being suggestive all the time. Now, that doesn't mean you just, it's not going to be a one-on-one. You're not going to be suggestive, and all of a sudden, while they're having sex
Right.
on the kitchen counter. It just doesn't work that way. But it's being flirtatious, being fun, and making sure that your wife, you make her feel like a woman.
Yes. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean turning in your man card. It means it's absolutely the exact opposite. You have to have your man card in order to make her feel like a woman. And so it's somebody asked me like, what's the most important thing about being a man? And my answer was being a gentleman.
I love it.
It starts there, and everything else kind of falls into place. But if you don't, if you're not that, you're just an asshole. No, I
would agree. I would agree. I mean, luckily I don't have any of those type of issues in my relationship. We connect like on all levels, and if there's something that goes off, we talk about it and we work through it.
Right.
And there, I think like with a lot of couples, communication is an issue, and if you're not talking about those things, it's going to create that distance in your relationship where you're going to lose connection. I mean, that's just
and and some people have gotten to the point where, you know, they're not starting off at point zero.
Right.
There's, as the expression goes, the water's been under the bridge, and so they're starting off at like 5 or 6. So it's really easy to get into an argument there,
Yeah.
you know, to where people are just talking past each other, and it would, you know, and believe me, I've seen that. I've seen that. The thing about my parents, they were about as dysfunctional as you can ever imagine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really a hard time. It actually was so bad. It got so bad that I went to parochial school, a Catholic grade school, and I just it was in the 8th grade. I remember I just like started talking to the nuns after school, and next thing you know, I was living with went from Phoenix to living with relatives in Akron, Ohio, finishing up the 8th grade there,
Oh,
because
wow.
it was just, yeah. So it was that bad.
Yeah. No, I understand. I had a bad childhood myself, so yeah, I can get it. So, what made you want to become a coach at this point in your life?
Um, a friend of mine, a couple of friends said, you really should do this.
Hmm.
You have a natural instinct for helping people, and I also am very direct because I've told people I don't believe what you're saying. I don't think you're telling me the truth,
Right.
and it turns out I'm right. Yeah, you know, I said, you're just telling me a story. You're just telling me a story just to make you feel better,
Yeah.
or to get me out of here. But I just do that, and I've always been able to kind of be very incisive, relatively quickly, and get from point A to point B, which works with guys. But my understanding is women need to be heard.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yeah, and so I would not be a good woman's coach because I would because I just had to be like very, you know, just very, very direct in that regard.
But I
And
think that's good. When you're coaching someone, I think it's important to be direct. Do you use a lot of your coaching skills and living by example within your marriage?
oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have to.
Yeah.
I can't. You know, it's part of the authenticity, and I can. And you know, my wife has accepted the fact that some of the things that I talk about, you know, are going to be awkward. You know, people don't normally use the word penis and vagina, you know, or clitoris. Well, it's not something you never hear. So people, you know, and so she just sometimes laughs when she hears me on these podcasts and being interviewed. And I'd once said like, well, what's your podcast all about? And I gave him a quick rundown. He goes like, the guy says like, in 30 seconds, you've said words that have never been used on this podcast.
Well, that's good though. I feel like that if people were having those kind of conversations, that probably their relationships would be a lot healthier. You know, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with talking about that. I mean, I love sex. I think it's beautiful. It's necessary to like. I need that in my relationship. If I don't connect with my significant other, you know, a couple times a week, then I'm like, what's going on? Like, we need to connect. We need to have that physical bond. So I think that it's very important.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of it. You know, it's the physical, it's the emotional, it's the spiritual. It's the journey that you two are taking together.
Yeah, I love it. So you have a free gift for us. What is it?
Oh, I have my magazine. I have my magazine. Of course, it's going to the clickbait article is about sex. You go to the standard.academy/magazine, and you get my free digital magazine. It's actually has a number of articles, and one of them is one secret place to touch a woman,
Oh, wow. Okay. I like it.
and it's not her clitoris because that is not a secret place.
No, no, it's not. I love it. And
So if you want to know that, you got to get the article.
that's right. That's right, you guys. I'm gonna put that link in the show notes, so don't hesitate to go get your free magazine. Learn if you're a man listening to this and you need to learn a little bit more about your woman, go and check that article out. And if someone wants to listen to your podcast, what is the name of it?
It's called Old Guy Talks to Me.
Yes.
And Old Guy singular, Old Guy Talks to Me. .com. I'm on Spotify, Apple, all the big platforms on there. And I cover a wide range of subjects.
Yes, yes, you do.
From anti-aging menopause, vaginal deterioration, rejuvenation. We talked about anti-aging medicine, testosterone. Had several people on about stem cells. Talked about porn addiction. Talked about suicide, scotch and cigars. The one, the porn addiction was an interesting one. And actually, I don't know why sometimes people come up to me and they tell me, this always happens to me. They tell me stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not stuff that you would normally say. So we were at a party, my wife and I were at a party, and I was talking to this guy, and he was very, very buff. He was a airline pilot, and the rest of the time he was a lifeguard in Malibu Beach. So you can imagine that you have to, you know, but when we start talking about this and that, and talk about relationships and this and that, and he looks at me, he's just like, Orest, I don't get to a happy ending when I'm having sex. And I go like, okay. I said, like, is this all the time? He goes, yeah, it's almost all the time. I can never, and you know, you think that's a great thing, but actually it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not. And I looked at him and I said, like, well, how much porn do you watch? And he said, every day. And I said, you masturbate to it? Yes. He said, yeah. He said, well, that's why you can't have a normal relationship, because you got this thing going on. It's like this fantasy thing that's all hyped up, and you know, you have no idea that, you know, everything that those actors are taking.
Yep.
And so you got this thing that's not really real.
Yeah.
That's going on in your life, and so your brain has been rewired, and that's why you can't have a normal sexual relationship.
What did he say to that?
He said you're absolutely right. He said I never really realized that, but he's basically addicted to porn.
Yeah. Can a man rewire his brain after he's reached that point? I mean, I would take some time to do that.
It takes some time, and it's a hard thing to do because it's an addiction,
right?
And you literally get off.
Yeah, on the fantasy.
Yeah, on fantasy. So it's really, really hard. But yeah, so you know, it's a hard thing, and the problem also is, now this guy was in his 50s. Okay.
Oh, wow.
The worst part though is that you got these young kids that are 13, 14 watching porn on their phone.
Yeah.
And thinking that's what a relationship is like.
Right.
And then the first few times they have sex, you know, it's like, okay, well, you know, first of all, the woman does not, the probably be a young woman. Well, she's not acting like the porn star is.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, I laugh about this, you know, the first few times I had sex, you know, like, yeah, I was not better than a Minute Man.
I would not be like, shouldn't, you know, you shouldn't.
I know, as a matter of fact, I'm not sure. That would have been a really long time at that point. So you got these kids watching porn, and they're being set up for this fantasy that doesn't really exist.
Right.
And it causes lots of problems in their relationships.
Yeah.
So I think, but yeah, so yeah, Deanna, it's there's so many things that are affecting us in so many negative ways. But I do have one other gift for your audience.
What's that?
It's called the Rules of Life.
Okay.
The Rules of Life. If you go to the standard.academy/rules, and I'll tell you rule number 3.
Okay.
The rule number 3 is especially important if you have daughters, young daughters.
Okay.
All boys lie. The more they want something, the better they lie.
Oh, yeah.
The first lie you hear is, I'm going to love you forever.
True. That's true.
Yeah, it's true. So, and all of them, the rest of them are kind of along that tenure. So it's interesting, but it's a series of,
I like it.
You know,
Well, you guys, I'm going to put those links, like I said, in the show notes, and also a link to his show. So if you love what Dr. Orest was talking about today, go follow him on Apple, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. Go check out the standard.academy and get his free gifts. And also, if you're interested in working with him, if you're a man that needs some coaching and you like his style, you like what he's all about, go schedule a call. I'm sure he would love to talk to you and see if it's a good fit. Dr. Orest, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
I think most people try to pretend that things are better than they are. And I think a little authenticity in terms of where you actually are in things is very, very helpful. Now, I'm not talking about engaging in a pity party, but you'll find that if you're honest about where you are, people will respond to that. And my life's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Pretty damn good though. But when you talk about things, people try to put on this brave front, and it doesn't do anyone good.
No.
So be authentic.
Yes, I love that. With that being said, you guys, thank you, Dr. Orest, for being a guest on the show and sharing your style, your methodology behind being a coach and doing the podcasting. I love it. I'm a fan, and I was also a guest. So thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.